No, they do, but it's just, I don't know, it's just what happened was,
We have it so long, it's nothing new.
it's very political. No, it's just political. It's the, what do we call it, Tzionut Datit, the religious Zionist, whatever, kind of took ownership on that. You know, with the march at night from Merkaz, from the yeshiva, from Merkaz Arab to the Kotel, and like, you know, and the flags and the whole thing, and it became very political. So everybody else is,
I
so
can't
like,
participate.
I can't participate because politically,
Those guys.
it's those guys. That's where it is. I mean, the Haredi camp, they don't do that, right? They don't celebrate it anyway. They don't recite Hallel. People who are not religious.
They don't either.
So what exactly, what expression is there? It's not the day off, like Yom Ha'atzmaut or something. It's not. So it's a regular day. What are you gonna do? I mean, there's, you know, barbecue. I mean, that's
That
not
was the answer.
Yeah, that's not really like a mitzvah, you know. So it became like only the religious Zionists, they are the ones that actually celebrated and brought some content into that. Okay, we recite Hallel, you know.
It was a miracle.
Of course it was a miracle.
You know what they're voting in Israel now? All the refueling, all the stuff.
I'm sorry?
Today, what's this whole week, they're bringing all the stuff to refuel planes and I mean, a lot of stuff. I mean, nobody talks about it. I heard it.
Yeah. Okay, I want to go back to our High Holiday liturgy, and today talk about Untana Tokef.
Okay.
So, yep, 506. So we spoke a lot about Piyutim this year. And, you know, there's some Piyutim that are in the Machzor, and we say them because they're in the Machzor. A lot of those Piyutim, I don't know how, you know, years and years, we say them every year, and I don't know if we understand what we're saying, we really connect to what we're saying. We try to kind of like shed light on some of those Piyutim. We discussed them today, like throughout the year. Fine. But I don't know if it's like, you know, even on coming Rosh Hashanah, I don't know if we're gonna even think about all those ideas that we spoke about. And they're like the other type of Piyutim. The Piyutim that you don't need to explain, it just, everybody is like into that Piyut. And I think that Untana Tokef is one of them. It's not like another section in the Tefillah, but rather it's one of those places where the Machzor is able to say, to express what we all know, what we all like kind of, but it's hard for us to say it. That life is not automatic. Don't take it for granted. Our time is limited. And because of that, we have a moral and spiritual responsibility. So why a text like that it's not like very optimistic, I have to be honest. Kind of scary, ancient. Why it's so like vibrant, something that is like, you know, we all like know it. I mean, you can read the English on 507.
It humbles us.
It humbles us.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sets the tone.
Okay. I think it has to do with not only understanding the words, but like other elements. And the first element I want to talk about is the fact that it's piyut. So we talked about piyutim a lot. We understand that. Okay. But it's well, if you look at actually at the Koren Machzor here, look at this. It's written as a piyut also.
There's a lot of vowels in that. You notice that?
Yes. So in a lot of the piyutim that we discussed like over the year, you know, there's midrashim, there's like ideas, blah blah blah. You have to uncover them, all that kind of stuff, rhymes, theology, whatever. So it's kind of like interpretation of the Paitan. Okay. Correct. Here, it's very direct. It's very like straightforward. We understand this is the day. Rosh Hashana is the day of judgment. He tells us that life is fragile, man is fragile. He puts the Paitan put like all the elements, all the imagery, everything. He builds it in that way that we understand that it becomes kind of, we can almost touch that. He also not only reminding us that there's tfilat tzedakah, tshuva tfilat tzedakah, but also he puts that in contrast to all those feared, all those, you know, things, all those wonderful, you know, things, right? And he basically said that you don't have an option. This is the only, that's the only way. It's right. Okay, so that's number one. So it's not like, you know, pasuk from the Torah that comes with all that baggage. It's not like a regular piyut, like the piyutim that we discussed up until now, that you need to uncover all that stuff. It's very straightforward. It's in your face, whether you like it or not. Number two, location. Where does it sit exactly? One of the, I think the keys to understand this piyut is its location. It's connected to Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot, the three parts or the three different blessings that we have in the middle of the bracha, of the Amidah of Musaf. And it starts and ends with God's sovereignty, God's Malchut. Etc. So in the background is God sitting on the throne, like Zichronot. He talks about V'tiftach et sefer hazichronot, remembrance. Talks about this idea that God remembers everything. Talks about this idea that everything you do is recorded. Okay, so that's zichronot. Direct connotation to zichronot. What about shofarot? Uve shofar gadol yitaka, right? He talks about the shofar, that big shofar that is associated with Rosh Hashana. It's associated with Sinai, right? Shavuot, Matan Torah, and the shofar of the Messianic times, of Kibbutz Galuyot. Teka b'shofar gadol lecherutenu. Say it every day. But interestingly, it's not the opening for those sections, for Malchuyot and Zichronot, for Shofarot and Zichronot, but rather it is a siluk. Siluk is a type of piyut, the last piyut before the Kedusha. It leads us into the Kedusha. Okay, so we spoke about Kedusha many times. So when we talk about, so this piyut is like in the theme of what? Kedushat Hashem, or Kiddush Hashem, sanctifying God's name. קדש את שמך על מקדישי שמך וקדש את שמך בעולמך ובישועתך תרים ותגביר. אוקיי? ובכן יתקדש שמך השם. What? תעלה קדושה. And it takes us right into the קדושה. ככתוב על יד נביאך. בעבור כבוד שמך הנערץ והנקדש כסוד שיח שרפי קודש המקדישים שמך בקודש. It's smack into קדושה. And what I would like to suggest is the fact that it's right there in Kedusha, it has really a lot of significance. Why? Because what do we do in Kedusha? We said it many, many times before. The Kedusha in the unlike the Kedusha de Yotzer and the Kedusha de Sidra, whatever, the other Kedusha that we saw, there's a Kedusha of the repetition. And what do we do there? Unlike the others. First of all, we stand. It's the present, it's not the past, it's not the future, like Kedusha de Sidra is the future, right? Past, present, future. We said that not creation, that's Kedusha de Yotzer, not, what are the three big words, right? Creation, revelation, and redemption. Redemption is going to be in the future, that's the Messianic, that's Kedusha de Sidra. Creation is Kedusha de Yotzer, past, creation. Okay, so we are left with present, revelation. What do we do in this kedusha? We mimic. We don't talk about, we don't remember, but rather we mimic. We join the malachim, right? This is why we go up and down, because the malachim are hovering. We don't have wings, so that's the best we can do. Right? And we say, Nekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam, for example, right? We will sanctify your name just like the angels do that in the heaven. So what do we do? We're going to recreate that experience. That's what we do. We mimic the angels. We join the angels. The whole liturgy of the Kedusha, the little piyutim that we have there is based on Safuta Hechalot. All that stuff we spoke about many times. Safuta Hechalot is that series of writings from Jewish mysticism, from the Kabbalah, that talk about all the stuff that is happening there with the Malachim. I don't know much about that. Okay? So what we're doing is, in essence, we're joining together the Malachim in the Kedusha in order to sanctify God's name. And Untana Tokef is right there in the same space. Neri was with me. I think you were when we learned Sefer Yechezkel. Sefer Yechezkel talks about this idea that Kiddush Hashem or Kedushat Hashem also has to do with the state of the people, right? Yechezkel talks, like in a lot of his prophecies, talk about that. If the people are in bad situation, and it's not a new idea for Yechezkel, Moshe Rabbeinu already said that, then also God's name is mechulal, is desecrated. למה אמרו מצרים? וראה הוציאם להרוג אותם בהרים ולכלותם על פני האדמה, Moshe says to הקדוש ברוך הוא. Why the other nations would say that, you can't deal with that? And so if something bad happens to the Jewish people, that's a reflection on God. That's basically the idea here. But if we are in a process or in a state of geula, of redemption, then God's name is sanctified as well. And that's, to some extent, what we talked about the Kaddish. That this is the prayer. That's what we ask. Yitgadal v'yitkadash. Right? Because God's name being exalted and sanctified is a result of what's happening with us. So we ask for God's revelation in the world. And that's exactly where we find dispute. and it becomes very dramatic. Okay. So it starts with let's look English. Let us now relate the power of this day's holiness, for it is awesome and frightening. Right from the very beginning. This is not like a date on the calendar. It is a day with power, a day that something special happens, revelation, right? Remember, Rosh Hashana is not just the beginning of the year. Rosh Hashana is the day of judgment in Jewish theology. It's the day of creation of mankind. Adam was created on that day, and therefore it's the day of judgment. And immediately, once we establish it's the day of judgment, this is why, by the way, there's a tradition it's more in Hasidut, that on your birthday, you do Cheshbon HaNefesh. You kind of like reflect. Hey, it's not just about the celebration. By the way, if you remember the story about Joseph, he's in the pit, right, in Egypt, and Sarah Mashkim and Sarah Ofim, the baker and whatever, the bartender, they forget about him. 2 years happen, and then Pharaoh has those dreams, and right, and how the Torah said, Yom huledet et Paro. It was Pharaoh's birthday, and on his birthday, he started to think, what did I do wrong? What did I do okay? Oh, remember this guy and whatever. Oh, bartender, remember all of a sudden he goes back, and the guy said, oh, yeah, there was a guy with me in jail. Maybe he can help. So it has like roots to this idea, right? Today, it's all about the cake and a celebration, but birthday is a day of judgment. It's a day of like reflection. It's a day of like, what did I do this year? Okay. So this is the day, the Paitan says immediately, and like in our theology, that this is all people are judged, because that's the day in which Adam was created. And if that's the case, immediately we have a question. What do you do with your life? That's the question of the judgment, of the trial. What do you do with your life? Okay. Then we say, ותשב עליו באמת, ובוא תנסה מלכותך ויקום בחסר כיסך, ותשב עליו באמת, right? And you will sit upon it, meaning on your throne, in truth. Okay? Truth is din. But it's not only din, because as we said before, in Judaism, it's always what? Tzedek, which is din, together with chesed. Veikon bechesed kis'echa. Okay, so immediately the Paitan put like the chesed and the din together, which have tension between them. Okay, there's judgment, but there's also rachamim. God is the dayan, mochiach, yodea, and ed, a witness. So we cannot hide. Everything is revealed. Everything is out there. And then we have this like image. ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות ומעלה ביקרא בחותם יד כל אדם. You open the book of history, right? The book of Chronicles, right? And everyone's signature is in it. That means there's the video. You can't hide. You can't say, I didn't do it. It's your signature. Everything you have done. Everything you have done. Okay. So our judgment I'm sorry, with our actions, we impact our judgment. Okay, so Sefer HaZichronot is basically the collection of our lives, the way we lived it. So it's not a threat, it's throwing the responsibility back at us. Not everything is in our control, correct? But look at all that stuff. It has your signature on it. You take responsibility. Okay, it's not enough the drama. ובשופר גדול ייתקע. So, again, we said it's either the shofar of Rosh Hashana or the shofar of Sinai or the shofar of the Messianic times. It doesn't matter. In all those options, it's a sound that breaks the routine. It's a sound that says something is happening now. Revelation, Deen, whatever, awakening. The shofar doesn't explain. It just shakes us. And what the piyut does is translate that sound into words. Okay. And then there's the description, right? What the angels are doing. We see that this is a very similar idea to what we see in the Kedusha. What do we say in it? Like we have Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. That's what Isaiah tells us that angels are doing. Baruch Kvod Hashem Imkomo. That's what Ezekiel tells us that the angels are doing. So here it's also what the angels are doing. Malachim yichafezun, v'chil avodah yochezun, v'emru hinei yovadin, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Fine. Let's go to the next.
So what this proclaiming that it's Nomadin?
Correct. It's a description, like, right? He's showing you that's the scene. That's what's happening. And there's an imagery. That's the imagery. So the Paitan is picturing for us, creates for us a picture, very vivid picture with very clear images actually of what's happening in the heavens. Okay? Fine. Obviously, it's imagery. Okay? Put us in the mood. Okay. The next paragraph. בראש השנה ייכתב וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון. כמה יעברון, כמה ייברן, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Very, yeah, it's like who is going to live, who is going to die, right? By water, who's by fire, who by water, sword, whatever, hunger, thirst, etc., plague, all the ways in which you can die. Fine. That's Rosh. It's the same idea. It's correct. That's the old version. Okay. It's difficult. It's difficult to go through that list. It sounds like every type of tragedy is something that is predestined, and it seems that, like, we accuse God with every type of death and illness and sickness and whatever, and all the accidents and all the wars and everything, and this is why it's difficult for a lot of people to recite that. I get it. But I think what makes this piyut so powerful is that it doesn't give us reasoning behind that. He just forces us to acknowledge in all the stuff that we want to kind of push away from, like, and not to think about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about like earthquakes. I don't want to think about wars. I don't want to think about illness. I don't want to think about tragedies. I don't want to think about all that stuff.
It's in your,
But it's in your face. You have to, it's right. And it forces us to recognize, to admit, to accept that life is vulnerable. We're all going to die. We're all going to get old. It's not fun.
we hope we get old.
What?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good, excellent. But it comes with challenges. There's fire and there's water and there's cherev and ra'av and there's all that stuff. It's a catalog of all the ways in which we can get hurt. And we have no control over what's going to happen to us.
Which is interesting because these are things that could happen to you at any point, not at the end of your life.
No. It's at any point, but also like, it covers everything. And then it switches. Mi'anuach, mi'anua, mi'shaket, mi'taref, mi'shalev, mi'tyasar. Now we're not talking about life and death, but we're talking about what? The quality of life. Quality of life. Right? Rest, or we're going to be like wandering or whatever. We're going to have peace and quiet or not. Or we're going to have misery, wealth or poverty, etc., etc. So it's not only life and death, but it's also the quality of life. Okay. Then, so after it makes us like, facing all that stuff, life, quality of life, etc. It asks like, what is man? Right here. אדם יסודו מעפר בסופו לעפר, בנפשו יביל לחמו. Right? What is it? Right? And the answer that they give is a series again of imagery. כחרס הנשבר, כחציר יבש, כציץ נובל, כצל עובר, כענן קלה, כרוח נושבת, חווה פורח, חלום יעוף. What is man is like? Man's origin is from dust, and his destiny is back to dust. At risk of his life, he earns his bread. He is likened to a broken shard, withering grass, a fading flower, a passing shade, a dissipating cloud, a blowing wind, flying dust, and a fleeing dream. That sounds so, depressing. But that's the imagery, right? That's the imagery. Okay.
So all that is resolved by tshuva.
Sort of.
No. This is going to be resolved by Ta'u Melech El Chai V'Kayam. Unlike us, God, but you are the king, the living and enduring God. Correct. Unlike us. So what is the purpose of that? It's not like to make us feel bad, but it's like to put a mirror in front of our face, because like throughout the year we live like we're unbeatable. I get up in the morning, I do my thing, like whatever, there's a lot of work, whatever I need to do, and it's like, I feel, and I'm going to make plans for next year and this and that and whatever, all that kind of stuff. Our life is stable. I'm making plans. I'm taking a mortgage. I'm buying a house for the next 30 years. I'm making a commitment, all that kind of stuff, right? And this paragraph basically says, no, I mean, good luck. You can do all that stuff, but exactly. Man plans and God, correct. You know, it reminds you you're temporary, and because of your temporary, your life is very, very dear. And it's not that like, you know, it's fragile, but because it's fragile, it means that there's a sense of urgency. It's a sense of urgency. It's not like, oh, so why bother? It's the opposite. It's urgency. I need to do more. I need to do more. I don't know how long how much time do I have? I need to do more.
How come we don't have like a mini Natan Elokif every day?
We do.
That's a good question.
We do. It's not every day. I mean, yes, we do have every day. We have it actually 3 times a day, and we have it once a week on a bigger scale. Think about Shabbat for a second. We all, used to think about Shabbat as what? Shabbat is, okay, it's a day of rest. Not exactly. Yes, it is, but it's not. Meaning, I'm obligated not to work, not because God is concerned about me resting and having a nap on Shabbat. No. It's because when I'm not working, I can have perspective. I can step back and look at what I've done in the week and have a perspective about that. If I keep, right, then I don't have perspective. And without perspective, I'm not going to get somewhere, right? That's number one. Number two, all the prohibitions of Shabbat, for example. Why does he care if I'm going to light a fire or whatever that is? It's a big deal. There's a pedagogical, theological idea. I don't create. Why?
Because
Technically, I can. Plenty of people do that. Why?
because God is the one who creates.
What's the difference? So I'm going to create on after sundown. I know to acknowledge that. Okay. So one day a week, I don't do that because if I don't have that reminder, once a week, I can think that it's all about me. I advance, I work, I make money, I this, I whatever. It's all about me, 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 me. Shabbat, I have to step away from that. I can't do that. Oops, I didn't cook. Stay hungry. I didn't turn on the light before Shabbat. Stay in the dark. I'm limited. Yeah, I get it. Today people say, okay, I don't care. I'm going to break Shabbat. But the idea behind it is I'm limited. I'm limited. Only God is not limited. So it's the same idea. And so this is once a week. And 3 times a day, it's in the Amidah. 3 times a day, I daven. And what's the purpose of that? I get it. It's Sheilat Tzrachim, right? I'm asking for things from God. I'm asking for health. I'm asking for parnasah. I'm asking for all that kind of. I get it. But what's the educational idea behind that? The Hitpalel is what? To judge yourself. Okay, fine. But there's another idea here. Okay, but what do I learn about myself?
I'm limited.
I'm limited.
And not looking.
Okay, but I'm limited. Okay? If I'm sick or somebody is sick,
I don't have control.
I don't have control. If I'm broke, maybe it's not that I'm like, I didn't try. We're talking about like, I tried and like whatever. I'm asking God. I'm limited. And it's the same issue here, but here it's just like boom in your face. Yeah. So the way I look at that is like 3 times a day, we have this reminder. We have a bigger reminder once a week. right? And then once a year, it's like
Really?
really big. But the idea, if I'm gonna have it only once a year, I'm gonna be so off the way, it's gonna be very hard. Even if I'm gonna be like, once a week, probably it's gonna be too. So this is why I look, every couple of hours, 3 times a day, gives us like,
But it's more of a hint as opposed to.
I get it, but you don't need it. If you really do that and you understand the 3 times a day, you don't need that. I mean, could you imagine like, what's going to happen with, the rates of psychologists, for example? Everyone's going to be in therapy forever if this is what you get every day. Everybody going to be depressed, right? No, you don't need it. You don't need it. You need a little hint. Okay. Let's go into that sentence that's so famous, the bottom of 508. Tefillah, tzedakah, tshuva ma'avirim Torah gzera, but repentance, prayer, and charity remove the evil of the decree.
Just the harsh, that's the word I couldn't hear.
Exactly. Good.
People say
So
they use
I'm happy you know it. Rabbi Top says that every year. So he reminds, okay? Good. And it's important to remember that it's if we say those things, even if we do those things, there's no just a magic that, okay, fine, good. I'm going to give to charity. What? Yeah. Oh, by the way, other religions, that's exactly it. You go, you confess, or you give a charity, and you're good to go. We don't believe in that. We believe it's actions.
It is like.
Okay, tzedakah is but and the Rambam is very clear. You have to do like it's self. You have to work on yourself.
So why is tshuva tzom? Because tshuva should really be when I'm up against that again, I don't do it.
That's the Rambam. But tzom is what is tzom in Chazal?
Not eating. No.
It's much bigger. Today, it's like, okay, I'm fasting, but I still go to work. It's a regular day, whatever that is.
It's
Tzom,
self-reflection.
it's a self-reflection. It's a day when we do tzom, at least when they instituted days of tzom, it's a day that call for reflection. I'm not. So yes, one of the things I do is not eat because I have to be in a certain mindset. I'm not even concerned about anything that is happening. I don't care if I'm hungry, whatever. I feel so bad, or I need something so bad that I can't even eat. Okay, that's the idea. And by the way, like rabbis, like throughout Jewish history, they established days of fasting that was always associated with prayer and reflection. Today we kind of like forget about that and we focus on the tzom, but that it's the opposite. It's the opposite. And we, of course, we're so obsessed with the technicalities. If somebody's not feeling well, so can I do the shiurin? And
Yeah, how much water? Right, we forget about why we're doing it.
why we're doing it? Where's the prayer? Where's the reflection? That's the important stuff. Think about like, when the prophets, King David does that all the time. We see even like when people like they fast, they daven, they tear their garments sometimes, whatever, all that kind of stuff. That's the idea. It's a soul of the search. It's a search soul.
Yeah.
Soul search. Thank you. It's not about like not eating, yes eating. That's technicalities. Okay. So tshuva is tzom. Why? Because it changes me. It asks, where have I, or why, or how come I removed myself from God so much? How far am I from the better version of me? What do I need to change? Who do I ask forgiveness from? Where do I need to return to? Okay? This is tshuva. Tefillah is my relationship with God.
So what is kol?
How do you daven?
Words?
With your voice.
Yeah, but isn't that? Why would they have to put that in?
That's the tradition. Okay? It opens me to something that is beyond me. It's not others yet. That's tshuva. That's tzedakah, I'm sorry. But it teaches me that there's like something bigger than me, right? Okay, which brings us to tzedakah. Tzedakah is my relationship with others. Okay? Responsibility, repair, relationship, all that kind of stuff. So it tells me that the way to build a world is to help others, to build a community, to be in touch with others, to build a world with others. Okay? So these are the three circles that we have. Right? We have a relationship with ourselves, we have a relationship with God, and we have a relationship with other people. בין אדם לחברו, בין אדם למקום, ובין אדם לעצמו. And so what happens is now the piyut kind of like shifts the focus from what's going to happen to me to what kind of a person can I be? Or should I be? I don't control the future. I don't control everything that's got to happen to me, but I can control how I face it. I can't nullify every decree, but I can control how I deal with that. I can control the way I react to that. So I don't close even more. I'm not bitter. I'm not apathetic. I'm not cruel. I do have control of how do I react to that decree. And unfortunately, we see it like many, many times. We see it. God forbid somebody gets bad news, like, they have serious illness or whatever that is. And some people they open up, and some become very bitter. And they're angry. And some actually choose to bring others into that, and they decide, okay, I don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to do as much good in this world as much as I can, whatever that is. This is a choice. They don't have a choice about the disease or the sickness or whatever that is, the decree from above, but we do have a choice. How do we react to that? And this is Utruva Tefillah Tzedakah, because that teaches me about those three circles. And Ma'avirin et Roa Gzera, the bitterness perhaps depends on my actions. How do I choose to react? There's a can we continue a couple of more minutes? Yeah? Yeah. There's the very, very, very famous story about the origin of dispute. Okay? It's a story of Rabbi Amnon of Magenta. The story is brought in the Or Zarua, that means like mid 1200s so. And according to that story, by the way, historians today say it's not true, but really doesn't matter. We're not dealing with history here, we're dealing with traditions. So according to that story, Rabbi Amnon, right? He was a rich, influential person, and the local bishop, was pushing him to convert to Christianity. And one time, after, at some point, he said, "You know what? Give me 3 days." And that goes, like talking about like the times of the Crusades and like the Second Crusades. So he said, "Give me 3 days to think about it." immediately after that, he started to feel bad about that, because even to consider it's like terrible. Anyway, so after 3 days, he was supposed to go to the bishop, and he refuses. He doesn't. No. So the bishop sends his troops, and they force him. They bring, and Amnon says to the bishop, cut my tongue, because I'm not gonna do that. So he doesn't want to say it. So he said, you can cut my tongue. So the bishop said, no, I'm not going to cut your tongue, but I'm going to cut the legs that refuse to come to me, and the hands that didn't, whatever. So he cut his whatever, yeah. And every time, and then, like, they said, like, will you convert? No. Will you come? Yeah, whatever. That's the story, people. That's the story. On Rosh Hashanah, he asked his family to take him to the shul. And there, before Kedusha, he said Untana Tokef. And when he finished saying Untana Tokef, he passed. The story continues that 3 days later, Rabbi Amnon appeared to Rabbi Klonimus. Rabbi Klonimus, one of the Paitanim, wrote a lot about our Piyutim. So Rabbi Amnon appeared to him in the dream, and he said to him to publicize this piyut among the different communities. That's the story as it appears in the Or Zarua. That's the story that we know from our tradition. First of all, whether it's true or not, really irrelevant. It tells us, by the way, how it became famous, and all the communities in Europe adopted it, and it became, how it's possible that in a very short time, by the way, this piyut became, we see it in, in all the communities in Europe during the medieval times, etc., in the Crusades and everything. And that was like something that they could identify. Mi yichyeh, mi yamut. That was like real life for them during that time. And it's that story is very, very compelling. And the question is, not the question, but I think that the piyut says to us, davening, doesn't matter how, but those words were born somehow. They're worthy to be said. And it brings into that the history of suffering, of Kiddush Hashem, of being a martyr, all that kind of stuff. And it's when you put the history into that, you understand that it's not only a drama that happens up there in the heavens, but it's also a communal memory. It's a narrative of communities of our great grandfather parents in Europe that went through that stuff. And then the last point that I want to make about this piyut, 1973, the Yom Kippur War, most traumatic war in the history of Israel. For many Israelis, when you say Yom Kippur, it's not spending the day in shul, it's that memory of the war. I was born after the war, so I don't really, I did not experience that. But we all know what happened and etc. What happened was that Kibbutz Bet Hashita, kibbutz in Israel, kibbutz, a very, very secular kibbutz. Yair Rosenblum was a very famous Israeli composer, wrote tons of music, Israeli music, and he was in the kibbutz at that time. And after the war, and there were 11 guys from that kibbutz that were killed in the war. And after the war, he wanted somehow to express, like, he wanted to write something. And he talks about it. There's a video of an interview with him. He says, like, yeah, he couldn't even think about any text that can express what they felt. And he said, I opened the Machzor. And he said, that was like like those words resonated with me. That expressed how we felt in that war. And he sat down and he composed and that's what I do, that melody, at least part of it, the first part. And it became like a standard definitely in Israel. That melody of that secular Yair Rosenblum, from Beit HaShita, that melody entered hundreds of synagogues for that particular text, because it puts together the history of the Crusades together with modern Israel, together with everything together. And it's interesting. He said, Yair said something in the interview. I watched that video. He said something that he ends with "Utruva utfila utzaka ma'avirin Torah gzera." He took out the last part. He didn't compose because he said, I wanted to end with some that we can do something about that. We can do something about it. And that was important. That was important to him.
Like, Mizrach do not have the Latana took it.
No, it's not. The Data Mizrach don't have it. Sfaradim, like Mishpachat Bardugo, that's Samechtetim, that's a different story. They might have, because they like that Nusach was influenced by the Ashkenazi,
right,
by some of the Ashkenazim. I mean, in Spain, but Data Mizrach don't have it. So, okay, next week, same time, same place, we will continue. Maybe I'll have a little bit more of insights about that. But what I want to do is actually moving into probably Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot, so we'll be able to, God willing, finish all the liturgy before Rosh Hashanah. We're getting there. It's already Shavuot next week.
Fast.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
He's complaining.
Oh, please. It's for sure. It's if we have time, and it's